Welcome to High Oracles Reiki Spiritual Healing Channel. Hi, welcome. Welcome. Please let me know if you can hear me. Welcome. Please hit the like button as you come in. Can you guys hear me okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started if you guys can hear me. I've already had to restart my live because it didn't have any sound. So, go ahead and hit the like button and we can go ahead and get started with our live today. So we're talking about people laying tricks for you at the job. This is a client edition, and I have gotten permission from Brother Johnson in order to speak to you about his situation. So Brother Johnson sent me pictures of, a powdery film or a powdery substance that was laid across his work area. Okay? So I decided to let Brother Johnson know that he needed to have his shoes dressed and fixed. We would also have to dress and fix his ankles, his joints. We decided that we were going to tie, a silver dime around his joints on both legs. Okay? So these silver dimes is supposed to remove the negative energy, repel the negative energy, and you're going to be able to see some type of discoloration when this negative energy has been removed from that silver coin, has repelled that negative energy. Okay, so we were able to do that. And then we decided that, it was going to have a spiritual gift in order to remove the negative energy at work so that he could levitate over this type of negative energy. He could walk over the negative energy and it would not affect him. So this is also helpful with the silver dimes. Silver is a very important process of removing these types of attacks from the feet, from the legs, from the knees, okay, from the lower extremities. It is very important that you use the silver in these types of rituals. Okay, so now you want to also understand that when you're dressing your shoes, there's three things that happen. when you're able to dress your shoes, 555 as I'm saying this, to remove any kind of tricks narcissists have laid for you. Okay, you can reach out to me for the ritual in order to dress your shoes. You know, I don't have the comment section, the comment bar on this video. For some reason, it's not on there. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, so this is what I instructed Brother Johnson to do. You know, and I told him that this is what would happen when we dressed his shoes. That negative energy was going to, you know, he's going to feel some harsh movement, some heat on his legs. It's going to be painful to remove that negative energy once he had already walked through whatever these warlocks and witches had laid down for him. So this is one of the things that I instructed him, is we were going to dress his shoes so he could walk over the evil. Number two, you know, you would have to, you know, levitate over those groups and people who was just, you know, stopping to stare at you and send the evil eye at you. You will be able to levitate over the evil eye. Please hit the like button as you come in, guys. And three, it will force out, you know, of him all of the poisonous negative energy that had affected him with bad luck, with disaster, with the pain. And like I say, you're going to have to be ready to go through the pain when you are removing this type of attack off of your legs, the stagnation, the disaster that they had sent, the higher spirits that they had sent to Brother Johnson. We were able to remove that negative energy off of him by dressing his shoes. And I had to instruct him, he needed to wear that pair of shoes every single day. Okay? Every single day he wore that pair of shoes. And then during the first week that we started this ritual, he started to have so much pain in his legs where the poison and the toxins were coming out of his body that his knees started to swell up. He had never had any kind of arthritis or joint pain before. He had never had any kind of swelling of the knees until we started cleansing the negative energy. And like I said, you have to be ready to suffer and forbear, because the negative energy has to come out. This is the cleansing process that you will have to endure once you have walked over someone that is experienced at poisoning your feet and laying tricks for you. Okay, so this is one of the things that we had discussed. And he was like, you know, I just can't take it that his legs were so swollen that I ended up having to send him another gift in order to relieve the swelling and the pain from the legs. And he was able to receive get the benefits of the healing, you know, of the healing and peace that I sent him. The next week, he was able to get back to being at work. He was able to move around. So these are some of the things that you will experience when someone has laid tricks for you. Again, you will experience the pain of the feet. You will experience the yellowing, you know, the discoloration, the deformity of the feet in many cases. In many cases, it could be the deformity of the toenails. Okay, this type of negative energy, it can be cleansed. It can be cleansed. So in order to cleanse this negative energy, we've had to, you know, dress and fix Brother Johnson's shoes, and it worked really well to remove that negative energy. Once that negative energy started to come out of Brother Johnson, he told me that, you know, he was having problems going to the bathroom, regularly. He had to stay, when he went back to work, he had to stay near the bathroom because a lot of the toxins, a lot of the poison that we have ran out through his legs and through his feet was coming out of his bowels. He was able to feel that negative energy, that poison come out of him, that oppressive spirit come out of him. And he said that it was like his stomach was just turning. He called me and said that, he was feeling really terrible. His stomach was just churning. And once that negative oppressive spirit came out of his bowels, he said that it was only orange and yellow that came out of him. This is typical when the negative energy has been removed. Okay? So, that pain is going to go away. That suffering, it is not going to last for a long time, but you're going to have to go through the pain and suffering while you're healing and removing these higher spirits that someone has sent to your feet. In the last couple of weeks, I've had the premonition that someone was having these types of problems. And so now that we are addressing this type of issue where the left leg is like an elephant leg, is so big and huge from the poison buildup, the right leg is also swollen, but the left leg is like an elephant leg. That is a buildup of poison in the system that needs to be ran out, okay, with the holistic healing, the holistic remedies, the spiritual. We need to anoint that leg. We need to anoint this person. And this is what we had to do for Brother Johnson. Okay, if we were able to run that negative energy, where his knees were swollen, his ankles were swollen from this poison that had entered through his feet. Okay, so we were able to use the holistic remedies, and I put run you back home oil in his shoes. I put a run you back home, the high oracles chase you back home oil in his shoes in order to remove this negative energy from him. And this is one of my most strongest, powerfulest, black oils. And, we were able to get that negative energy out of him and run it out through his bowels. And like I said, he called me on several occasions and said, what is going on? My stomach is just churning after I used this ritual, after I completed this ritual. And I had to reassure him that negative energy is getting ready to come out of you. And he was saying, I'm back at work. I just don't feel, good at all. I was like, because you need to make sure that you're praying. You need to make sure that you're next to the bathroom, because that negative energy is going to come up off of you because they've continued to set up on you and attack you. You're able to walk over the negative energy. Okay, and it is going to be backfired. I also gave him, like I said, the chase you back home oil. I gave him the black salt in order to remove that negative energy from his workspace. And now those people, they are having problems. The problems that they had planned for Brother Johnson, they're having those problems out of the bosses. He called me and said that, some of them have been suspended from work. Okay. Some of them are being removed. A lot of people are losing their jobs, and you do not want to, lose your job because you're envious and jealous of someone else's position. You spiritually attack someone. Okay. So in order to understand how these negative energies will return to the person. Whatever they planned for you, whatever they was laying tricks for you, that they didn't want you to elevate on the job, they didn't want you to be their boss, they didn't want you to work in that position, they wanted someone else to work there. And whether they were trying to run you off or whatever the case is, that negative energy is going to be returned to them. If they ran a smear campaign against you, okay, with other employees, everyone that was involved with that negative energy is going to be returned back up on them. Okay? So now that Brother Johnson is having a much better time, a lot of the negative energy has backfired upon his enemies. This is what I want to make sure that you understand, that it is not going to be an easy process, when you're cleansing the negative energy. When you're cleansing it out of your stomach, when you're cleansing it out of your legs, your feet, it's not an easy process. And I have to make sure that I warn people that you need to be ready, for your leg to swell up. You need to be ready and prepared for that negative energy coming out of your bowels. You may not be able to go to work for a couple of days until that negative energy is removed from your bowels. Sometimes you may have to vomit it up. But it's better that it come out of you than for it to be stagnant in you and someone is controlling your will. You lose your job. You lose your health. You lose the ability to, excuse me, you lose the ability, to take care of yourself. Okay, so all types of stagnation, when we're dressing the shoes, when we're dressing and we're asking God for protection from these types of people. I also had to give him the holy verses to ask God for protection. Okay, we were doing Psalms 91. Okay, we were doing Psalms 51. Okay, so we want to make sure that when we're dressing your shoes so you can walk over evil, you can walk over evil that someone has laid tricks for you in your home. As long as you have dressed those shoes and you're wearing those shoes and you do not change those shoes to other pairs of shoes that you want to wear, you will be protected from this type of tricks, this type of attack from narcissists. You will be able to walk over that negative energy in your community, in your home, on your job, whoever is laying those types of tricks for you. Again, I've had to use this process as well, with neighbors. And, it only infuriated them that they could not bring me under control. I've had so many people trying to lay different types of tricks and send black matter, the evil eye. Okay, and we never want to forget the classic, Santa Muerte. We never want to forget those people who cannot bring you under control. I've had neighbors that have sent this type of attack against my life, and so not understanding that this type of attack can be cleansed. It can be cleansed and it can be returned to sender. So, when they started experiencing problems in their life, every time that, they turn around, their cars was breaking, the children were fighting, the neighbors were coming against them because they had to receive that higher spirit that they have laid tricks in order to cause harm and problems for me. So I know that if it worked for me, it's definitely going to work for my clients. Okay, so, let's make sure that you understand that first, when you're removing these types of attacks off of you, you want to put the silver dimes around your ankles. Okay, you want to use the silver around your ankles, and there's only certain years of dimes that you can use in order to have that silver in them still. Okay, so I had to send Brother Johnson 2 silver dimes. He put silver dimes and attached them around his ankles. Okay? So this is how you want to repel that negative energy. And then I also dressed his shoes for him, and he was able to levitate over any kind of negative energy that his co-workers had laid for him. He was able to remove himself from a bad situation. He was able to remove the negative energy, and I directed him for the better part of 3 months, because he was sick for a good month, where his stomach was just upset from the toxins that had been absorbed through his legs. He was in pain. He could barely walk. He sent me pictures of his leg, his knee. It was very swollen and red. It was like a pulsating, beating heart, from his description. And so, when we were able to, put our healing piece upon these swelling legs, upon the knees, upon the joints, the ankles, that type of attack, that type of negative energy, he told me he could just feel it coming off of him. And this is what you have to be ready to. It's just like going to a doctor and they give you a diagnosis, and usually it's going to have some side effects if you're going to, take medication. It is the same thing. When you have diagnosed that you have been affected by someone sending black magic upon you, laying tricks for you, the evil eye or black matter, to remove that negative energy, it's going to be painful for it to come out of you. Okay, he told me that he had the IBS for a couple of days until that negative energy. And so for men, and I had to explain to Brother Johnson that for men it's totally different, because I have to physically cleanse it out of him. I had him using the natural remedy. I had him using the prunes. He liked to eat the prunes, to run that negative energy out, to force it out of his system. Okay, so he was able to get all of that, toxic matter that was coming off of his legs, to remove itself by forcing it out with those prunes. Okay, by forcing it out with the holistic rituals that we were using, to remove that negative energy that he walked over for. He doesn't even know how long he's been walking over it, but he did know that he had been at the job for at least 2 years, before he was able to witness that every day he come in, it was some gray or powdery substance at his workstation. Okay. So when these people are envious and jealous of you on your job, when people do not want you to be their boss, when people do not want you to rise above them, when people do not like you because of your race, they think that, some of their people would be better suited for your position. They want to be you. They will lay tricks for you. And you have to be prepared, to go through the pain and burden of removing the negative energy that they've tried to influence your life with. And I can't, sit up and say that it's going to be easy when you walked over, someone sending black magic to your feet, stagnation to your feet, poison to your feet for 2 years. I'm not going to sit up and lie to you and say that it's going to be an easy process. Anybody that's telling you that is telling you a lie. So we were able to remove this negative energy from him, and he's been thriving. He's had no sickness. He hasn't had any bad luck back to back. His transmission going out, the refrigerator going out, flies, trying to attack him, food going bad in the refrigerator. All of that type of mess has gone and left him. Okay. It has been removed from him. Excuse me. I'm sweaty, guys. So, there are different types of progressive methods, and this is one of those progressive methods that we use. And I just wanted to add to you before we get out of here is that when that negative energy is being repelled with that silver is going to change colors. When it's going to let you know that it has, repelled that negative energy from that situation. That silver dime is going to change colors, not only, with your body, acidic, not only with that, but it's going to change colors to let you know that that negative energy has been repelled, that sickness has been removed from your legs. And that's when the healing process begins. That's when we start the healing process of running it out of your system. It can't stay in you. If it stay in you, then that person's will is going to take over your life. You're going to lose your job. You're going to be stuck in a low paying job, while the person that they want, or themselves, the narcissist, takes over that position. Okay, so you always want to fight against negative energy. There is a lot of negative energy that is being sent out at this time. And we are going to address that this week in some of my videos. But I wanted to give you this, that, you'll be able to walk over negative energy when you, reach out to me and let me dress your shoes for you. I'm going to teach you how to dress your shoes. Okay, you're going to have to go through this process of learning how to protect yourself from this type of attack from any other narcissists or witches or warlocks or sorcerers or magicians that will, try to use these attacks, these malevolent attacks against your psyche, your mind, your health, psychic attacks, to trick you and say, I'm your friend, I'm your boss, I'm your co-worker, in order to get close to you so that they can lay tricks for you. Okay, they're envious and jealous of you. Remember, you do not have friends on the job. You go there to work and get your money. There are people who do not want you to, look better than them, make more money than them. They are in competition with you on the job. You don't have friends on the job. Okay, so this is what I have for you today. You can dress your shoes in order to levitate over any kind of evil that someone has laid for you. You can use the silver coin, the silver dime, in order to remove any kind of poison that someone has sent to your feet for stagnation, lack, disaster, hired spirits for you, attack you with black magic. Any of these types of attacks, it can be healed. And we were able to heal Brother Johnson's situation, and he feels much better. He has, lost a lot of the weight in the stomach. A lot of that bloating went down because of that hired spirit, that poison, that yellow poison had to be run out of his system. He had to run that, that bloating, that hard stomach that he had, that black matter that they had sent to his health, his life. Okay, it had to be run out of his system. And that's exactly what we set out to do. That's exactly what we did. And these are just some of the success stories that I have had. I have talked to you about other success stories. This is just a progressive method. I've had other success stories where we have had to break effigies, from, wives putting effigies in people's basements and making, taking personal items from my clients. We've had many different success stories. And I'm happy to bring you this one about Brother Johnson, because I know a lot of you are going through this on your job, where you're getting the hate, where people are in alignment with the entity. They're running the smear campaign. They're gang stalking you to run back and take something to the boss and tell something on you. They're laying tricks for you. If you're having these problems at the workplace, at your job, you need to reach out to me at www.highoracle.com. Okay? So I hope that you guys can hear me on this video. I hope that you have received some good knowledge, something that you can take away and help you. I want you to reach out and book your consultations. I want you to reach out to me and book your life coaching sessions. If this has been going on with you in your life for a long period of time, it is going to, if it has been affecting your legs, if your legs are swollen, if you have problems with sciatica, widespread pain throughout the body, you may be affected by black magic, or you may be affected by someone laying tricks for you. And I hope that you have received this message. Always make sure that you hit the like button, guys. I really appreciate all of your support. So please, we've come to the end of our live chat. I really thank all of you guys. Please make sure that you're and protecting yourself at all times. Please like, share, and subscribe to me over all of my platforms. You can book your one-on-one life coaching sessions or your video chat sessions. Make sure that you are reaching out to me. You can do so in the description of this video. And leave a comment for me, giving donations or offerings. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.